Good morning, everyone. It is the 12th of November. It's about 11:25. I started about 5 minutes early. This is the Kingsman Report. It's the news everyone ignores. My name is Ryan, and this is the podcast form of my news. This will later be uploaded to the podcast. So you may hear my computer ding this morning. People are sending me stuff. I guess there was over 50 rockets shot over into Israel last night. So I want to talk about that. And let me turn this down a little bit. And some other news that's going on. Also, a fireball spotted over Missouri, which was, if you're watching on YouTube, that was the thumbnail. But like I said, this is a Kingsman Report. It's the news everyone ignores. If you have an article you want to send me directly and you're on Google Hangouts, you can send it to kingsmanreport2019@gmail.com. And I'm also live on DLive, Twitch, Periscope under Ryan Barnes, YouTube under the Kingsman Report. And you guys can watch there as well. There's an open chat, and you can always call in and talk if you want to. And the number is 1408-638-0968. And the meeting ID number is 534-233-4758. So this first still I wanted to get into, I'll go ahead and play this because I don't believe anyone's really talking about this. See if I can pull this guy's thing up here real quick. He's actually there. All right, let me open this real quick. All right, I'm gonna play this video. This is from a guy named Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, and he's a journalist over in Israel. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this, and you guys can kind of hear what's going on and what was the cause and effect of everything that happened. I'm only gonna play a sound. I streamed for 2 hours last night, and I was copyright stricken for a stupid video about the U.S. Air Force's TR-3B, and we streamed for like a long time. But so I'm gonna play a sound on this.
Hi, folks. So I wrote 4 articles today, which is an awful lot for me. I usually write 2, and the reason why is because Israel took out 2 Islamic Jihad, or tried to take out 2, and successfully took out the Islamic Jihad leader in in Gaza. And in response, which is kind of a harsh way to put it, it's a misnomer. Gaza responded by shooting 160 rockets and projectiles at Israel. And thank God I'm not only okay, but it's, as you can hear, very quiet up here. If I wasn't reading the news, I wouldn't know that anything happened. But I found out something very interesting. I was speaking to Dr. Mordechai Kedar, who is brilliant, and he pointed out Islamic Jihad is an international movement with international agenda. The Islamic Jihad is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. Israel is the front line, but they're not going to be satisfied with us. They're shooting rockets at us now. If they could, and they may get there, they will be shooting rockets at America. Thank God, Nick. Yeah, prayers would be very good. And prayers also tell Hashem who you are. the Muslim Brotherhood has a plan. It's known. I wrote about it today, a plan to take over America. The first step of their plan, as they explicitly wrote it out, is to just live there, move there. That's the first step. But they do, the Islamic Jihad wants to take over the world. Islamic Jihad does not want coexistence. They don't want any political things. They're shooting their rockets is their goal. They do not want Jews to be alive. That's what we're talking about. So anyone who criticizes Israel for any response to this, anyone who does not condemn Islamic Jihad for shooting rockets into Israeli cities, they're very clearly evil, and astonishingly so. So yeah, but what I want to say is it's really, I remember there were suicide attacks in Israel. I hate that expression. And then and including driving buses off the road. The Palestinian would grab the steering wheel and drive the bus off the road. And then not so long after 9/11 happened, Israel got hit by this border thing where Palestinians gathered along the border and said, "We want to come and kill you, exterminate you." And the world said, "Oh no, they're peaceful. You have to accept this." And sure enough, right after that, America had to accept threats on its southern border. If it's here, take heed. It's going to be by you very soon. I'm very concerned about my brethren in Israel. People are going through horrible times. It's an astonishing, right in your face miracle that they've shot 160 rockets, that's 18 rockets an hour, into Israel, and there have been no serious injuries. I saw one video where there was an explosion, two cars, I don't know if they were before the explosion or after the explosion. See the explosion in the road on the highway? Two cars come out of the explosion untouched. That doesn't happen. There's another busy inner city road, and a rocket landed in one of those huge containers that holds industrial waste from building construction. Exploded in there. So no one got hurt. Nothing happened. There's miracle after miracle after miracle. And it's very uncomfortable depending on a miracle. But at the same time, like I said, you have to call evil evil. You have to call good good. Anyone who does not recognize that Islamic Jihad is coming for us first, but you next, and that their intentions are evil, that's a problem. And that's what's happening there. So I appreciate the attention. Yeah, I love you people. I've developed some amazing friends here. And I'm not saying go out and kill them all, but I think that cutting the head off the snake, like we did last night, by Israel taking out the Islamic Jihad leader, it really was cutting the head off the snake. And I have nothing, God willing, the people in Gaza and the Palestinians will learn to choose life, and then we can live together. But they don't want coexistence, and for the time being, that's the problem. And if what you see happening in Israel, that's what they want to bring to you. So if you support them, it will come to you. I do not want violence. They do. That's what it's coming to. Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say. Be blessed. Prayers for Israel are needed, gratefully accepted. I personally feel them. Should all be blessed. Thank you so much.
So I thought I would share that. That video was from Stephen Weiss. So keep your prayers for or keep praying for the people of Israel, and we're gonna watch this unfold as we get further and further along in what's happening with what's going on in the Middle East. So with what's going on here, I have an article here. It says a fireball spotted over Missouri on November 11th, 2019. So, and like I said, I'm not putting myself on camera or anything until all that stuff comes in. But this is the article here. This is a fireball spotted over Missouri. Over 120 reports from 8 states. This is the AMS has received over 120 reports so far about a bright fireball seen above Missouri on Monday, November 11, 2019, around 8:52 p.m. The event was mainly seen from Missouri, but we also received reports from Indiana, Illinois, Kansas, Minnesota, Nevada, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin. Here's a map. It says the trajectory, the preliminary 3D trajectory computed based on all the reports submitted to the AMS so far shows that the fireball was traveling from east to west and ended its flight somewhere in Wellsville, Missouri. We also received 3 videos of the event from witness. All of them can be seen from the AMS event. It says the event has also been caught on camera, but numerous security cameras in the area, and for instance, the earthcam.com St. Louis camera. I'll play this. They may copyright strike me for doing this, but let's see if this will play. You guys can kind of see the and that was a little one compared to the one that I saw, this one right here. See, it kind of fizzled out there. But there was a meteor shower. They had been telling us about this, that this was going to happen. A lot of strange things happened yesterday, by the way. Of course, it was 11/11. Also, you know, Mercury, or the messenger planet, it made its way around the face of the sun. So we kind of knew that this was happening. But there's some footage about that. So, you know, I'm constantly talking about technology and things that are taking over, that we're just kind of, you know, throwing our hands up to. And some of you may be aware of this, some of you may not, but Elon Musk wants to offer free internet service to the entire globe by creating this satellite, I guess it's basically a satellite grid over the earth. It's called Starlink, funny enough. But he deployed 60 Starlink satellites, and I believe this was yesterday. This whoever wrote this article, it came out today. But it says SpaceX deploys 60 more Starlink satellites in record-breaking launch. It says it has been a quiet fall for SpaceX, which launched a Falcon 9 rocket early in August before taking a break to prepare for future missions. Now SpaceX has successfully deployed a new batch of Starlink internet satellites, and the Falcon 9 that delivered them made history in the process. At this rate, SpaceX should begin offering internet access by the middle of 2020, although not everyone is happy about the growth of the Starlink constellation. Astronomers worry Starlink could interfere with ground-based observations and other satellites. So SpaceX sent the first batch of Starlink satellites into space early this year as a test, and some of the devices failed to operate. But SpaceX has since refined the software. CEO Elon Musk was able to send a tweet via the Starlink network recently, but the system needs at least a few hundred satellites for what SpaceX calls moderate coverage. The latest launch of 60 satellites gets SpaceX on the way there. There's a video there of the launch. It says, unlike other satellite internet systems, Starlink aims to provide very low latency connections. Many of the satellites will remain in very low Earth orbit, or VLEO, to improve connectivity. SpaceX has promised latency as low as 15 milliseconds, which would be very impressive if true. Initially, SpaceX only planned to launch a few thousand satellites to power Starlink, but that number has since ballooned to at least 30,000. The company hopes to have 2,000 in orbit by the end of the year, and astronomers worry that the high reflectivity of thousands of satellites will throw off observations of distant objects. Musk says the team is looking at ways to reduce the albedo or reflectivity of the satellites in future launches. With thousands of satellites in the constellation, there is also concern they would collide with other satellites. This is the Falcon 9 that delivered the second batch of Starlink satellites to space, also set record for reusability. That was the booster's fourth launch, having landed after 3 previous missions, while SpaceX managed to land the rockets a 4th time. It's clear if it will get another mission. This was also the first mission to use refurbished fairings. Those are aerodynamic shells that cover the payload on the second stage. SpaceX just started collecting those to reuse recently. SpaceX isn't the only company planning a large satellite constellation, but its unparalleled rocket reusability should help it realize the strategy on the cheap. So we can look forward to this coming out here pretty soon. And they're saying right here, by the middle of next year. So we'll see if that's a possibility. So as you know, unless you're living in a cave somewhere, we're having an Arctic blast right now thanks to global warming. Of course, I'm being facetious about that, but and that's not the article I wanted. Yeah, I guess it is. So, Arctic blast bringing record-breaking temperatures across the U.S. It says an Arctic blast could shatter more than 300 records across the U.S. as it brings freezing temperatures to nearly 222 million Americans. This is the dangerous weather on Monday caused accidents and travel delays in the Midwest, and nearly 6 inches of snow fell in Chicago, where a plane slid off the runway at O'Hare International Airport. None of the passenger or crew members were injured, officials said. If you hadn't seen that video, you guys need to check it out. It's pretty intense. It says the National Weather Service said Tuesday and Wednesday may be record cold from the southern plains to Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes and beyond, thanks to what is called an Arctic air mass that started in Siberia and has been spilling over a big chunk of the Midwest and East Coast. There will still be plenty of snow into Tuesday in parts of the Northeast. As Weather Service reported, the region may see up to a foot of snow, creating what is called hazardous travel conditions. It says, meanwhile, temperatures were forecast below freezing as far south as Texas Gulf Coast. Records are expected to be broken in Chicago as well. And Weather Service meteorologist Kevin Kirk said the high for the Windy City is expected to reach 21 degrees, which is 7 degrees lower than previous records set for November 12th. Low temperatures in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa can drop into the single digits, according to Burke. And this is an air mass that's more typical for the middle of January than mid-November, said Burke. It is pretty much about the coldest we can be at this time of year, and it could break records all over the region. So this is the awful part about this. 4 deaths linked to poor driving conditions. It says at least 4 people have been killed Monday in car crashes linked to snow, ice, and poor driving conditions, officials said. In Michigan, 3 people were killed in a 2-vehicle crash, according to a Facebook post from Eaton County Sheriff's Department. It is believed that very poor road conditions were a factor in this crash. However, it remains under investigation, the sheriff's office wrote. It says in Kansas, an 8-year-old girl was killed when a car lost control on an icy highway, according to the Kansas Highway Patrol. The car crossed the center line and hit the vehicle carrying the child head-on, causing another vehicle to rear end her car. So if you're out there traveling, guys, and you can look into this more, but if you're out there traveling, please be careful, and pray for the families involved in these accidents. I mean, when my grandfather was a cop, and he always used to tell us that it's slicker when it first starts to rain than it is in these conditions. But you guys gotta just drive safe out there, and if you're gonna be in a hurry, then slow down, leave earlier, and get ready earlier. Don't go out there and think that you're gonna stop on a dime. It's not gonna happen. So I talked last night a little bit about the economy and what's going on there, and what they're telling us and what they're not telling us. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see that video because it's been copyright stricken. So this article is America's largest milk producer files for bankruptcy, and it says Dean Foods, America's largest milk producer, is filing for bankruptcy. The 94-year-old company has struggled in recent years because Americans are drinking less cow's milk. In 2019 has been particularly brutal. The company's sales tumbled 7% in the first half of the year, and profit fell 14%. Dean Foods stock has lost 80% this year. The company, which produces some of the country's most recognizable milk and dairy products, including Dairy Pure, Organic Valley, and Land O'Lakes milks, has blamed its struggle on the accelerated decline in conventional white milk category. The company is saddled with debt and has been unable to fund all of its workers' pensions. So on Tuesday, Dean Foods filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection to keep the business operating, reorganize its debt, and help fund the pensions while it looks to sell the company. It says Dean Foods said in a statement that it is working with Dairy Farmers of America Cooperative on a potential deal in which the cooperative would buy almost all of the company. As part of the bankruptcy process, the company secured $850 million in financing from its existing lenders, including Rabobank, to keep the company running. Once a staple of an American refrigerator, milk has slowly fallen out of favor with consumers as they seek less sugary or plant-based alternatives. So the global market for milk alternatives is expected to top $18 billion this year, with 3.5% from 2018, according to the Euromonitor. That's still a fraction of the traditional milk market, which come in at just under $121 billion globally last year. So I think as we go on further and further, we're going to start to probably see more and more companies. I did a video that there was a 24% uptick in farmers filing for bankruptcy, and that comes with a lot of it. People want to blame the president for that because he did a bailout or whatever, but a lot of it has to do with the flooding that happened here in the Midwest and in the South when we had the torrential downpours that caused floodings. It caused, here in Oklahoma, we had the levee get hit, and there was a fear that it might break. We had the levees where I'm at that were being watched closely by the Army Corps of Engineers. And that's another thing, and I'm not going to talk about it here, but there's other guys that are talking about it. Dabu7 talked about it, I believe. He talks about the infrastructure, the dams and the levees that are outdated and need to be repaired, and that there is a risk for flooding here in the United States because they're just outdated and they haven't been repaired in a while. But you can go check him out. Dabu7 is he's been doing this a lot longer. So I'm gonna butcher these names. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard this, but I myself have a Galaxy S10, but I have the S10e. My wife has the S10 Plus, and it came out earlier this year that there was a I guess not necessarily a glitch, but a vulnerability in the software that anyone's fingerprint could be used to unlock the phone. So this has come out that, and I also did the one that the Echo could be hacked with lasers, and it even went into what items you could buy off of Amazon, even to do this yourself if you decided you wanted to be a criminal and go and hack people's houses and stuff. But this says a team of white hat hackers found bugs in Amazon Echo and Galaxy S10. So there's always a vulnerability. I'm just going to say this. There's always a vulnerability in whatever man creates. With this technology being so advanced, there's always going to be somewhere a back door or something that people that are professional hackers can get into and get your information and do with it whatever they want to do with it. But it says a team of leading security researchers was recently crowned top hackers after finding vulnerabilities across multiple devices, including Alexa-powered Amazon Echo and the Samsung Galaxy 10. It says they compromised the devices at the International Bug Bounty event called the PWN 2ON or OWN in Tokyo late last week. The event, hosted by Zero Day Initiative, is home to white hat hackers who are paid top dollar if they find previously unknown bugs in gadgets supplied by big tech companies. It says the vulnerability found in the Echo allowed them to take control of the gadget, according to the PWN2OWN, and finding the bug earned them $60,000. Amazon told TechCrunch the company is investigating this research and will take action to correct its devices if necessary. Amazon didn't offer a timeline for getting the bug patched. It says the hackers used a bug in JavaScript to gain access to a photo on the Samsung Galaxy S10, earning them $30,000. In total, they took home $195,000 after targeting a Samsung television and a laptop. For the third year in a row, this team was awarded Top Master of PWN title. Now, the companies that offer the devices have 90 days to fix the vulnerabilities through software updates before details are shared with the public. And if I catch them, then I'll share them with you if they don't fix it. This is after they executed the code on the Tesla Model 3 software earlier this year. They were awarded $375,000. Tesla fixed the issue soon after via the over-the-air update. So, protect your stuff by all means. It's vulnerable. And this article I'm going to get into right here is going to show some vulnerability, and then I found this other one. It should be in here. There's another one. They want to put RFID inside your vehicle. I don't know where that article disappeared to. So, since we're talking about hacking, I'm gonna go into into this article. Facebook is secretly using your iPhone's camera as you scroll your feed. iPhone owners beware. It says it appears Facebook might be actively using your camera without your knowledge while you're scrolling your feed. It says the issue has come to light after a user going by the name of Joshua Maddox took to Twitter to report the unusual behavior which occurs in the Facebook app for iOS. In footage he shared, you can see his camera actively working in the background as he scrolls through his feed. It says the problem becomes evident due to a bug that shows the camera feed in a tiny sliver on the left side of your screen when you open a photo in the app and swipe down. TNW has since been able to independently reproduce the issue. Here's what it looks like. So, it says, found a Facebook security privacy issue. It says when the app is open, it actively uses the camera. I found a bug in the app that lets you see the camera open behind your feed, and note that I had the camera pointed at the carpet. It says Maddox adds he found the same issue on 5 iPhone devices running iOS 13.2.2, but was unable to reproduce it in the iOS 12. I will note that iPhones running iOS 12 don't show the camera, not to say that it's not being used, he said. The findings are consistent with our own attempts, while iPhones running iOS 13.22 indeed show the camera actively working in the background. The issue doesn't appear to affect iOS 13.1.3. It says we further noticed the issue only occurs if you have gotten the Facebook app access to your camera. If not, it appears the Facebook app tries to access it, but iOS blocks the attempt. It says it remains unclear if this is an expected behavior or simply a bug in the software for iOS. We all know that Facebook will say, spoiler, it's a bug, we're sorry. For what it's worth, we've been unable to reproduce the issue on Android version 10 used by Google Pixel 4. It says whatever the reason for it, though this behavior is particularly concerning, especially considering Facebook's atrocities track record when it comes to user privacy. But now everyone should be well aware that any iOS app that has been granted access to your camera can secretly record you. Back in 2017, researchers Felix Cross spoke to TNW about the same issue. At the time, the researcher noted one way to deal with the privacy concern is to revoke camera access, though that arguably doesn't make for a smooth software experience. Another thing he suggested is covering up your camera like former FBI Director James Comey and Facebook's own Emperor Mark Zuckerberg do. Learn from the pros, I guess. It says we've reached out to Facebook for further comment and will update this piece accordingly if we hear back. They probably won't. They're notorious for infringing upon your privacy. They sell your metadata. I know a lot of computer guys that are actually getting out of not even using Facebook because of its infringement privacy issues. This article is the world's largest trade deal would be signed in 2020 and the U.S. isn't in it. It says a group of 15 Asia-Pacific countries is aiming to sign a Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or the RCEP, in 2020. It says the mega deal started with 16 countries, but India decided not to join the trade pact over concerns that it would hurt domestic producers. The urgency to conclude RCEP is increased after U.S. President Donald Trump pulled his country out of another major free trade agreement, the TPP. So here's all the individuals involved. It says after more than 6 years of negotiations, more than a dozen countries in the Asia Pacific are now aiming to sign what would be the world's largest trade agreement in 2020. The deal, called Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnerships, or RCEP, involves all 10 countries from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN bloc and 5 of its major trading partners: Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. Together, the 15 countries make up close to 1/3 of the world population and global gross domestic product, according to a Reuters report. That's larger than other regional trading blocs, such as the European Union and the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or the USMCA. It says the mega deal started with 16 countries, but India decided not to join the trade pact over concerns that it would hurt the South Asian countries' domestic producers. Significance of RCEP, it says RCEP was launched in November 2012. It was Cambodia as an initiative by ASEAN to encourage trade among its members states and 6 other countries. Here's a chart here. The trade deals in force among original RCEP countries. It says those 6 other countries, Australia, China, India, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea, already have standalone free trade agreements with the ASEAN. Coming together under RCEP would boost commerce across the group by lowering tariffs, standardizing custom rules and procedures, and widening market access, especially among countries that don't have existing trade deals. And this is, my deal with the tariffs. It seems like we are, punishing these companies, but this opens a door for, third world countries to have independence and to get away from, obviously, their dependence upon our import-export business, and just to go into their own deal. So, and I mentioned this, and they're not mentioned in the article, but Turkey has, made backdoor deals with China, and they ended up bailing out Erdogan after he got tariffs from the president, and he got bailed out for a lot. And what they do here, and they're not talking about this mainstream, so they make these backdoor deals with Asia and different some of these other countries, which opens trade routes that will go from Asia through the Middle East up into Russia. They're opening the Middle East right now for their own independence away from us. If you don't see what's happening here, you guys got to pay attention, because the more they get independent from us, those powers will come together, build alliances, and then we're left with alliances that aren't necessarily as strong or have the military capabilities as we do, and this will open, of course, the what I believe the battle of Gog and Magog, and I've said this before, it'll be probably by proxy that an act of terror is committed, blamed on our number one ally over in the Middle East, and then when we go to defend them, it's going to leave us open and vulnerable for attacks. It's a possibility, but I'm speculating on that. Says all 16 countries started negotiating RCEP in 2013 when talks for another major trade pact, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, were underway. Given China's absence in the U.S.-led TPP, which was slated to be the world's largest trade deal, many observers considered RCEP as a way for Beijing to counter American influence in the region. You guys got to pay attention to the alliances being made over here in the Middle East. You definitely have to pay attention to that. They're gaining power, control. What's going to happen is there is going to be a financial independence come from this, whether that be cryptocurrency or any type of gold-backed currency. If they could get away from us, which we also know that China has some of the largest gold reserves in the world, if they can get past their dependent financially on us, and even open trade deals with oil, whether it comes out of one of the major oil producing companies over in the Middle East. Like I said yesterday in a podcast, Iran just found a field that had over 50 billion barrels worth of oil in it. and as you know, they have tariffs on them. So I think our number one oil ally over there is going to be the Saudis. They just started Aramco. It was attacked. I think it was a day or a week before they were about to go public with their company, making available to buy stocks or bonds in. It was attacked. All these things aren't coincidence. They're happening for a reason. They're gaining independence over there away from us, and they're going to try to weaken our economies. And when this president's gone, you can kiss your freedoms goodbye. You can welcome in democratic socialism and just crazed lunacy. It's going to happen. So just get ready for it. This is in 2017, however, the U.S. president pulled his country out of the TPP and slapped punitive tariffs on several U.S. trading partners for what he said were unfair trade practices. So basically what he was saying is that they weren't paying us back for the supplies that we were providing them, and they were indebted to us, and then he was slapping tariffs on these companies, and they were ordered to pay us back, and basically punishing them until they paid debts back. So it says, in particular, the U.S.-China trade war has hurt many Asian exporters by reducing demand for their goods and slowing down growth. It says the urgency to conclude the RCEP increased after all. RCEP was hard fought, but a choice made easier by the calculation that Asia needed to push back against protectionism, even as the United States chose that path. It says the final text with dealings of the trade agreement will go through legal reviews before being signed and released. The media and analyst reports have said RCEP is primarily beneficial for goods trade because it will progressively reduce tariffs on many products. In addition, the deal will allow businesses to sell the same goods within the bloc, but do away with the need to fill out separate paperwork for each export destination. Deborah Elms, the executive director of the consultancy Asian Trade Center, told Reuters that would help Asian producers to sell more of their products to the rest of the region. It says even for companies that export goods outside the bloc, there will be incentives to build their supply chains across RCEP members' countries, according to Reuters. But RCEP is said to lack the quality and the scope seen in the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the CPTPP. The latter is the agreement that replaced the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, after the U.S. withdrawal. In particular, RCEP, unlike the CPTPP, lacks the calls for commitments from member countries to protect workers' rights and the environment, according to Reuters. RCEP also covers few service sectors, and one reason which some reports said led to India walking away from the deal. India's role. It says India, involved in the RCEP negotiations from the start, declined to join the trade pact over concerns that the deal would hurt its domestic producers. India's apprehensions towards the deal have been one of the main hurdles in recent RCEP talks. So some RCEP members, such as Japan, considered New Delhi's participation crucial, both for economic reasons and other counterweight to China, according to the analysis from risk consultancy Eurasia Group. India in Asia's third largest economy and a large consumer market. But the remaining 15 countries are still expected to bring RCEP into force, according to another consultancy, the Economist Intelligence Unit. Without India, RCEP will be less significant, but its path to implementation has become much smoother, the EIU said in a report. So you can just continue to watch alliances being built through trade deals, through trade routes. Everyone's wondering, why is Turkey and Syria? Well, if you're paying attention to what's going on and listening to anything that I've talked about it, and a couple other guys have talked about it, but if you're paying attention to what's going on, they're opening trade routes for this to be a possibility. So this is one reason Turkey has involvement in the Middle East, Russia is involved in the Middle East, and Iran is involved in the Middle East, is because they're opening trade routes to go from Asia to Russia, and that's the plan. And like I said, Erdogan's been bailed out, so he could pretty much sustain his economy with the amount of money that China gave him. So that's the news this morning. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, and this is the Kingsman Report. It's the news everyone ignores. You guys can tune in periodically. I go live on DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook, as well as YouTube. There's always a chat up and running if you guys want to talk amongst each other in the chats. I see them here in my broadcast system. And you're always welcome to call in to the number that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Until next time, Yah be with you guys. Shalom. And pray for the families involved in the car accidents due to the inclement weather. And continue to watch what's going on in the Middle East. That is going to be a catalyst for what is coming. So pay attention to all these things, and as they continue to build up, then I'll continue to cover this stuff. So until next time, Yah bless.